Now is not a moment in time. Have you ever tried to be more present, be more conscious, just be in the moment? What if that was just an idea? And because it is just an idea, it also brings a lot of pain and suffering. And it looks something like, oh, I should be more present. I should be more in the moment. I should be more mindful. I mean, it's never ending. You will never arrive to a moment when you feel like, that's it. I'm just present enough. This is enough. So what if this whole show is just another game? What if this whole trying to be more mindful and trying to be more present was just another trick of the mind? And let's explore this, not from some knowledge in books and really well-meaning ideas of others, because all of these ideas are very popular. I mean, everybody's searching for being more present and mindful and just being in the moment without all the worries. If we can just leave all the worries behind and just be here, wouldn't that be nice? And so whoever promises this promise, it feels very attractive. It feels like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want. And so who is the I who is trying to be more in the present moment? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just a thought. Who is that thought really pointing to? Other than another thought that simply appears. And they are so convincing. And so, what if now had nothing to do with a moment in time? Because we usually imagine now is like right now, it's a moment. And that's where I should be. This is the happy spot. And I don't want to be thinking about, I don't want to be living in the past. I don't want to be having my head in the clouds too much. So rather than moment in time, what if now was simply what is without the stories, including the very convincing one that tells you that there is indeed someone sitting here listening to this. What if maybe instead of trying to be more present, what you deeply desire is to be completely absent, without that story of me that takes everything personally, that if I seem to be in the present moment, I take credit for it. Ooh, look at me, how conscious I have become. Or at least more conscious than the others. And then when I have a panic attack, or when I just can't stop worrying, I immediately feel bad about it, because clearly it's me who is in charge of being present. And so when I'm screwing it up, I mean, clearly it must be my fault. And so I try and I do different practices, meditation, mindfulness, trying to do some self-loving. And who is the one who is doing all of this anyway? Again, other than the self-identity itself. When I work with my clients, we look into the self-identities, and it's actually not even the self-identities that are so interesting. It's the one who believes has these self-identities, because this is really the one that we fail to notice. And so the power of now. There is power in this, in now, which has nothing to do with a moment in time, which has nothing to do with time at all. Because the past and the future is always an appearance in thought. You can never directly experiencing it in any other way. And so we imagine, and again, this is an imagination, that the now moment in time is somehow squeezed between the past and the future, and it's now. And this brings a lot of anxiety because it always leads to some future moment, and it always comes from some past moment. And that's a problem, because the I, the self-identity or the self, needs to control this moment in some way in order to achieve what it imagines will bring it happiness or the final relaxation, the final arrival into, I have arrived into place where nothing will bother me anymore, which obviously the whole thing is a theater show that only happens in a thought without noticing until we actually notice. And we can't help it. It appears without any notice. It's like a context from which we come from. It affects everything, how we feel. When we feel good, it's just a story underneath that tells us that, we are on the right path. This is in line with what we imagine will bring us happiness. And notice that this whole story has never anything to do with now. You can never, the person, the I, is just not concerned with now at all. It has no access to now because it lives in a story. It is a story. It lives in this imagined timeline. And so, for example, if I told you that tomorrow you're going to suffer, you're going to lose something that you really love or something that's dear to you, and if I'm being convincing enough and you believe me, you're already feeling that stress from that loss now. You will not be able to just enjoy now. And it's only based on a belief. Whether it happens or not, when you believe something, you're already experiencing a version of now, which has nothing to do with now. And so, if you really like to experience, even though it's not really an experience, if you'd like to be whatever in the now, It's really more about absence. That's where all the aliveness, enjoyment, compassion, patience, allowance, non-judgment, just all the everythingness, home that you're actually looking for. It's accessible and available. But the only one who is sabotaging and directing the attention to somewhere else is the identity. And it has a purpose to keep you safe from all the imagined danger. But it's also distracting your attention from the real danger, if there ever was anything like that. But from this perspective, there is. When we are worrying about something in the future, we miss to notice very important things, like our needs or what we actually desire. We don't take care of ourselves, stuff like that. In psychology, it's called anxiety misplacement. And we do this all the time, ignoring the red flags in dating. And it's just something that happens that cannot be any different. We cannot try not to ignore the red flags. It's almost like we cannot ignore something that we don't even notice. Or we cannot notice something that we don't notice. It's just doesn't exist for the identity to notice. Because it's in reality. The self-identity ignores reality, which is another word for now. It's simply what is. It may not be the reality. Sometimes when I say words that are more abstract, like reality, we imagine a certain version of the personal reality, which obviously has nothing to do with reality, which is just this, now. And it's not a moment. It's simply what is. When I work with clients, I can give you another example of now. For example, you can notice what's available in your life now when you drop the stories. And it doesn't mean that it's present this moment, but it's maybe available now. This now is very dynamic. Just the time is irrelevant for now. There is no time. It's just whatever's available, what's accessible. So trying to be present in the moment, it's counterintuitive, counterproductive. Even though, of course, it seems to work sometimes. It seems to bring some benefits sometimes, of course. It has to keep us in that illusion that there is me who is doing something right, that I am doing the practice well, that I have been practicing meditation and mindfulness for so long that I should be already conscious enough. And when it brings these results and my life is going well, according to my expectation well, then I feel very proud, very boosted, spiritually a little bit superior or a lot superior, because it's all my doing. It's just so funny. And it all happens in thought. And in the meanwhile, now is just this. It's the magic that we fail to notice. We notice without the identity, just becomes obvious. It is obvious already. There is actually no identity or no ego that you have to get rid of in order to notice this. Because that would be just another game trying to get rid of something. Is the game of the ego itself to keep you in that perpetual loop. But what if this and now, exactly the way it is already perfect and whole, with nothing needing to be taken away or added to it, including those thoughts about how it should be, how much more conscious I should be by now. What if even that wasn't the problem or a problem? And I'm going to leave you with that.